I'm so eager to chat with you, Taylor, because Wheel of Time is just action packed. And I think this season, season three, might be the most ferocious
It's
we've
definitely
seen of every single person in this series. And I'm curious where we pick up with Maxim and his double,
trio, the
his,
trio.
his, 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 both of his better halves.
Yeah, yeah. I think we pick up a few, I think it's about a month after the last season left off. We're all in Tarvalon. We're in the White Tower. We're about to have a little bit of a trial for one character who's been revealed to be a bit of a traitor, and that trial maybe doesn't go exactly as planned. That's the best way to say where they're at the start of the season. I think they're still solid as a relationship, as a couple, or as a threesome. But yeah, they're definitely rocky things are to come.
Well, we're here at the White Tower, and that spells trouble on
Yes.
so many levels.
Yeah.
First, I have to ask you what it's like filming those scenes where you are up in the tower, and are you on a soundstage? Are you really in like a castle at that point?
Uh, we are on a soundstage for a lot of the interior stuff, and then we for the stuff outside in Tarvalon, we're actually on a backlot in Prague. So they built everything in Prague for us for those sequences. But so much of the rest of the show is kind of on location. As we get further into the season, you'll see not just my character, but a bunch of other characters who go on these massive, massive journeys. And this year we shot in Slovenia. I did, but some other characters shot in South Africa. In the past, we shot in Morocco and Italy. So we kind of are globe trotting sort of show.
You guys are facing a number of battles in
Yeah.
this season. Did you have to physically excuse me, did you have to physically train differently this season? Seeing as the last couple seasons, yes, you were in good shape, but this one you're actually facing foes. Yeah.
Fighting. Yeah. So in the first two seasons, I probably had one big fight in that season. And it was either in season two, it was more like a practice fight. And then in season one, there was a big battle. But this season, oh, we've got at least three, if not four, things coming up for these characters. So I was constantly training. I was constantly in the gym, in the fight gym with our stunt team, who are amazing, and these insane Czech stuntmen who are incredible. And I don't know how they walk. They throw themselves at everything so much. They're really
Their
dedicated.
bodies are trained lethal weapons at this
They
point.
are they are trained lethal weapon. I'm not sure how they haven't broken literally everything, and maybe they have. But no, I spent a lot of time training and a lot of days sore after fighting. Um,
Sword fighting and
yeah.
archery for you this season. Is there anything else physically that we see of Maximus?
Well, there's some sword fighting. There's a little bit of there is some hand to hand at a couple points. There's some interesting uses of swords and daggers and some spear work as well. So I pretty much cover the gauntlet. And so in terms of medieval weaponry.
We've seen the three of you together mostly, certainly as you mentioned, at at this table or at this little farmhouse kind of
Yeah.
off to the side of the other storylines. But this season, you all are coming together in this White Tower. Was there someone or some ones you were looking forward to finally getting to share a scene with or even meet
Yeah.
at this point?
Um, Yeah, luckily because we shoot in Prague, I've met most of the actors, so I do have a relationship with most of the other cast. But it is a funny kind of show, in that like once you get kind of segmented off into your storylines, you're just with those people for the rest of the season, and that happens again. But it was lovely, it was lovely this season, at least at the beginning, to spend a lot more time with Kate Fleetwood, who plays Leandrin. She's such a powerhouse on screen, and so good at being evil on screen, but she is
Right?
so lovely in person. She's the sweetest human being alive. So it's always nice to get to spend time with her and be like, oh, right, you're not your character at all. So it just proves how good of an actress she is.
I don't know.
Um,
Her eyes, I think it's something about her eyes or something, or maybe just
it's
the role that's so good. There's
it's
all of
so
it, the perfect storm for her to be the baddest of the bad.
baddest of the bad. It's the eyes, it's the jaw structure with the cheekbones. She just, I, I feel sometimes I feel for Kate because I think that she often plays villains and she's so sweet. She sometimes is a little bit like, I'd just like to play a mom once, just once. But she's, I think with a face like that, it's hard to cast her as just, kids from school.
That's right. There's no way to get her into a suburban mom role, I think.
No, no, no. I don't. I keep trying to think of ways I would, if I was writing something for her, to put her as a suburban mom, but it always winds up with her being like secretly villainous or secretly like a spy or something like that.
Well, maybe she can have that dichotomy to her. She
Yeah,
starts out as maybe, the facade is there.
yeah, sweet facade, but then you're like, I think that woman might be a bad guy, and it turns out she is.
There's we talk about the epic fight scenes you have, but we also talk about these tender moments you have as the three of you. You have a relationship, you have love there. Talk about working together and developing that sort of chemistry that you need to be so
Yeah.
bonded with each other that it was a beautiful scene last season where you talk about how you chose to stay there because the love was so much between the three of you.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think that's the most interesting thing about, these characters is that they're obviously the Green Aja, which if you haven't seen the show, that means that's sort of like the battle sect of the White Tower, which is these women who can do magic. So they're sort of, they're the people in charge of like keeping things in order. And if there's a war, they fight it. But so it's nice to show kind of the tender side of these characters too, is along with the fighting and along with all of the badassery, as I say. They're very sweet with each other, and it's actually I think the interesting thing about our relationship on the show is there's three of us, yes, but it's probably the most functional relationship out of any of them. Um,
Sure.
because because I think they all love each other very much, and there's also a ton of communication. I think that's we talk a little bit about that in the second season, is we chat, we talk to each other, we make sure that everything is how we all want it to be, rather than letting things fester and letting things sit and letting things develop, or bad habits develop within a relationship, that you slowly over time sort of erode at that foundation of love that's in hopefully every relationship. And I think that working with the other actors, with Priyanka, she's just so wonderful and so uh, kooky and insane in the best way possible. She just brings such a beautiful, beautiful energy to everything that she does, and it's so entertaining that it's hard not to immediately fall in love
She's
with her.
gorgeous. Not
She's
to be.
also she's also she's also beautiful. She's also really, really and very, very talented. She's all of the things. And so it's very easy to fall in love with her as a person. And she brings all of that to Alana as well. So it's not hard to figure that out. Find what that is inside of you. And then with Ivan, we had a different actor. We had an actor called Emmanuel Amani playing him for the first two seasons. Emmanuel was great, and we definitely developed that relationship. But we have another actor named Anthony Kay who's playing him this season. And Anthony stepped on set, and it's a very hard thing to do, to take over a role and to make it your own. And he immediately sort of was perfect. That's the only way I know how to describe it. And he just came in and was the sweetest man, and we all fell instantly in love with him. And it was the easiest. It was something that Priyanka and I were both very nervous about, but it was the easiest sort of transition I think that we could have possibly had for something like that.
With such intensity to season three of The Wheel of Time, how did you all shake off a long day of being on set? You're putting your body physically and certainly mentally to the test because you're remembering these lines on top of huge fight scenes at this point.
Yeah. You know, a lot of laughter, a lot of but after you got, after you're shot 12 hours fighting and some really, really difficult at times scene work, you just sort of at least for me, I can't really go out and go to dinner and have fun. I just have to go home and sleep. It's like a hard day at work for anyone. I go home, I put on Netflix, and I have some ice cream, and I just go to bed. I mean, that's my recovery mode for this show. Yeah, but I think we have the luxury of being in the third season and where we're all friends and we all know each other. So it's very much like a family at this point. So you can tell when people are having a hard day and when they need a little bit of a boost, and we always try to accommodate that as much as we can.
What has it meant to you to be a part of such an iconic series?
Um it's meant the world. Like it's completely changed my life in terms of just where I live, what it looks like, constantly going to new exciting locations. It's been an adventure and it's been a whirlwind, and I just hope we get to continue for season four. And I hope that fans really enjoy season three because I think personally, having seen a lot of it now, I think the whole show comes together beautifully, and I think it's going to blow some people away. I truly believe that. I think it's by far the best season we've done, and it's not just because of the explosions and the fighting and all of that. It's because of the heart that's there, and also the storylines just all work. Everything works. I think this season. I truly do.
What would you like to say then to everyone who is a fan of Wheel of Time and the hard work you put into all of it?
Well, we do it for them, we do it for ourselves. I'm not gonna lie. Like we all get to have this amazing adventure and we all get paid to do, you know, I get to get paid to, live out childhood fantasies of, being a knight on the battlefield kind of, and all of this fighting and all of this really, really amazing stuff. But ultimately we're doing it for the people who love the book series and who want to see it on screen and who it means something to them because these books do genuinely mean a lot to a lot of people, whether it's helped them through a difficult part in their lives or through just having, the seeing there's so many characters in the Wheel of Time in the novels and on the show that it's very easy to find yourself in one of them. So it's very easy to relate to someone that's on screen or someone that's in those pages. And so we hope that we can do justice to that. And I think that we are doing that. We may not always get it right, but I think that the heart is there and the intent is there. And I do think this season I'd be hard pressed to say something we got wrong.
Well, you have to know the wonderful work is so appreciated by the fandom. I'm sure you have been overwhelmed through the years getting messages from fans telling you how special the show is, how they appreciate the work you put into it, how these characters, you might have even gotten fan art, fan fiction about
Definitely.
your trio. Uh,
Yeah.
and it must mean so much to you that these people take their time to appreciate that you've put your body and your mind, as we talked about, so
Yeah.
that you could bring something special to them to screen.
I mean, it means the world. Like, I've been I've been lucky enough to have a lot of wonderful interactions with our fandom, from like you said, some fan art to a few a group of them. I mentioned this in another interview, but I'll mention it again because I think it's so fantastic. Obviously, it's a big ego boost for me, but they went through my Instagram and like recreated some of the photos on my Instagram, and they made a calendar out of it, and they sold that calendar for charity. And
What a
so,
compliment to you.
it was so lovely and they're so sweet. And they, and any time any of our cast is, on stage or doing a play, there's a large group of them that come and support us. And and so it's been a wonderful experience to be able to welcome them into our kind of world that we create. Because we do make this show in Prague and around the world, but we do sort of make it in a bubble. You don't know how people are reacting. We don't interact with, we're not in Los Angeles, we're not in LA or London all the time. So you're not getting the feedback from how people feel about the show. And we've been kind of unlucky in the timing of the series coming out, where the first season came out during the height of COVID, so we weren't really able to do any fan events, and the second season came out during the strike, so we weren't able to do any fan events then. So we've been unlucky in that regard. So it's been so lovely this season to be able to have these experiences with the fandom, and just get to connect with them in a meaningful way, and hopefully they feel the same.